Good evening. This is Erik Stern from Stern Stewart and Company. I am our President of Global Operations, and we are here for the SWA 100 event, which ranks the top 100 companies in Indonesia in terms of wealth creation. We use a metric that we at Stern Stewart developed called WAI, or the Wealth Added Index, to measure these companies. This measure looks at the total shareholder return of companies and benchmarks that against their required rate of return. So that means if companies are positive WAI, they are creating wealth for their shareholders. If they are negative WAI, they are destroying wealth for their shareholders. Why is this measure better? Well, TSR, total shareholder return, on its own has no benchmark. We have no idea whether companies are actually creating wealth or destroying wealth. Obviously, if it's negative, they're destroying wealth, but they may also be destroying wealth if the positive total shareholder return is less than the required rate of return. This is a better metric on market capitalization. There are, of course, metrics that are used for companies in terms of operating performance. Our favorite is known as EVA, or economic value added. There are many others, but if a measurement does not have a benchmark, then we never know whether that company that's doing well according to that metric is actually doing well. In terms of the Indonesian market, what do we see? We see that the companies at the top of the list are not in commodities, which is a bit of a surprise to most people because Indonesia is known as a country that has great wealth of commodities. So we should expect to see those companies at the top of the list, considering during the measurement period, commodity prices were doing a lot better than they are now. Yet what we see are consumer product companies at the top of the list and some banks, which shows that the economy is much more diversified and much more stable and stronger than most people realize. This is also good because commodity prices are falling, and so if companies at the top of the list were in commodities, we would expect to see a change. Instead, this is good for the Indonesian market. When we look at Indonesian companies versus ASEAN companies, meaning those in Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines, and Thailand, and others, we see that Indonesian companies make up a large number of those companies at the top of the list, which underlines the fact that growth in Indonesia has been quite strong of late, and many expect that to continue, which means we would expect to see companies from Indonesia in the top of the list, versus those, again, in Singapore, Malaysia, and other countries. So this is very good for Indonesia, and we would expect to see this continue in future.